Good evening and welcome to this episode of Let's Talk. My name is Emmanuel Odeke. Today the 11th of the month of April 2023, the year of our Lord Jesus Christ. And this is Let's Talk, where we discuss everything that matters to add value to this nation, to this country, to the Church of Uganda, to the entire society as much as we can. So that is what we do basically, and we work hard to see that we enrich lives. Like I said earlier, my name is Emmanuel Odeke, and today we'll be looking at the land usage, the land use in the Church of Uganda. So you should be sure that there is lots of big chunks of land out there that some people are just looking at, and they're leaving goats that don't belong to the church to graze in, and they are literally not bringing any revenue to the church. And so today we'll be looking at the land use in the Church of Uganda and in its entirety, in the entire province of the Church of Uganda. And so with me in the studio is the CEO, the Church Commissioners Holding Company Limited, and he's a reverend. So you're sure you'll pray for you after the end of the talk today. So welcome with me, Reverend Jasper Tmuyimbise. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, and I'm grateful to God for the opportunity again to come and we address issues that affect us. And of course, we shall see later that land as a factor of production is one of the biggest challenges, whether in the church or outside the church. And you'll find that most of the fights within families are connected to land, or what we call estate management. And in Kenya, I have read history, Kenya is owned by a few people, about 10 own the land in Kenya. So when you see the political question in Kenya, actually it is a land question. So when you sort out land, you would have sorted out politics. In Uganda back home, again you'll find that the fights between husband, wife, then children, possibly the estate, is related and connected to land. Why? Because there are 4 factors of production. Number 1 is capital. But having capital, especially in the agrarian world, African context, without land, then you are not rich. Okay, in Uganda, when you have capital, money, without owning chunks of land and having cattle, you are not rich, considered wealth. Then another factor of production is labor. Now, about 85% of Ugandans, their labor is on land. Whether you go to sugar factories, you have labor-intensive factories. The ICT sector, yes, employs, but many of our people are surviving on land. Then entrepreneurship, that's the capacity to harness the environment and make profits. Many of our businessmen, where are they working on land? So you'll find that land, although it is a acquired factor of production, all other factors in Uganda depend on it. And therefore, that's the challenge. Again, land doesn't increase. You can't say we have 2 square miles, tomorrow 3. No. God created the land and finished. So we are not going to have more land. In fact, because of even natural environment, we tend to have lesser land, especially for usage for agriculture. So as a factor of production, it is becoming problematic to manage and administer land. You will find many people, whether clergy, whether laity, whether relatives, with that propensity to steal land. For example, you'll find that a grandfather gave us land, and I'm giving a classic example, for example, in Nakanyonyi Munyonyo, and Mini Mukono, he gives us land, almost half a square mile, and then grandchildren are saying they gave us 3 acres. And they get pangas, they want to cut. The one who gave us died. The father who knew that the grandfather gave us has also passed on. So grandchildren are like, please give us our land. Because the other side you are supposed to use, it is only 3 acres where the church is, and then the fights. So that's the big question. That, people can't accept that grandfather handed over land. They have sold all the rest. What is remaining is church land, so they begin encroaching. So there are so many examples around the country where a grandfather, a grandmother faithfully gave, and the grandchildren
are fighting for it.
Yeah, and of course for me, spiritually, that's absurd. But even in terms of emotional, if the grandfather or mother resurrected, I think they would die again. Because you can't imagine that what you handed over.
Some people are fighting.
Some people fought for it. But then 3 problems. One is record. Previously, Ugandans were using what they call goodwill. You give me, even if we don't write, you are my brother. So church was given, and nobody wrote that, this land was handed over to Church of Uganda. That's number 1 problem, that we never put a record. Secondly, connected to that is, whom are you giving? Now, you come from Kabramaido, Soroti, and then an old man gives you, and by the way, this is happening in Ikumi, that we got land from a community in Ikumi, giving to a church in Soroti. Now, they think that when you give to Soroti Church, that land is not vested into the registered trustees of Church of Uganda. For them, they gave a church in Soroti. They gave a certain parish. So it is as if they still control. Yet, the moment you give, you have surrendered. If you give to government, it is Uganda Land Commission. If you give to church, it is the registered trustees of the Church of Uganda. So, the second problem is that, whom did I give? Because Emmanuel was a good parish priest, I said, take 3 acres. Then Emmanuel goes, there is another parish priest whom I don't like, and I want to take away.
I want to take back what I gave.
So document, but also secondly, ensure that people know that if you give a church, you have given a church, not an individual or the head of laity. Number 3, related to that, is that we haven't documented. Then it is as if people are giving individuals, but number 3, and more importantly, that the one who has given has passed on. And in their will, they don't record that I gave the church this land. So, the estate managers now, the administrators, will come and say, in Muzei's will, this land is not mentioned anywhere, so it is ours. And then they fight. Of course, we go to court, and of course it is absurd that again somebody willingly gives, but then a greedy grandchild wants to take. And of course, so those are the 3 elements of the things we pass through. And so we must document, we must even know whom we are giving, but number 3, when somebody has given, ensure that they cease to even control, because there is where I read, somebody gave but continued being the head of laity and controlling land, what they do, what. So the feeling was that, actually even in saying down here, they buried that money there. So there is a tomb for somebody who died but he had given land to church, and then they buried. So people are using the tomb to claim rights. You get it? But yet, all indications are that this was done, handed over. So those are the challenges, and I think part of what we needed to do. And I'm talking about schools, hospitals, churches, public land. All we must deliberately document who gave, when they give. If people are still living, can we take testimonies so that we have a just and fair system? Yeah, because again, in church we need to be just and fair. I mean, that's the foundation of God is a temple. That his foundation is fairness and justice. So we can't be unjust and then we are charged. Yeah. If we got, let's fight for what we got. But if we never got, then let it go.
That one is not for the church.
Let it go, so that we don't continuously, wrangles simply because somebody can't prove that you gave. And sometimes, by the way, this is why we have said, okay, you take. Because again, God will defend himself. Yeah, I mean,
that is the Christianity.
He will defend himself. But that's again an unfortunate part to move to, because we are now invoking the divine in what we could have sorted out.
Physically.
Yes, physically, yeah.
Okay, now let's look at this matter of the encroachers.
Yes.
I know of quite a number of acres of land, pieces of land, plots of land in the diocese where I am and other places. There are so many encroachers on this land.
Yes.
Now the question is, how did they get there? Yet there, as far as I know, there has always been a CEO of this property.
Yes.
Now, how they got there might be historical. It might not help so much. What is happening to see that this land is got back to the rightful owners?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Now, three things. One, there is a historical problem of land in Uganda, especially if you go to northern Uganda, eastern Uganda. It is communal system. Communal means that you have elders who control what happens on land and land use and access. So where the communities gave church, the communities should protect church. And generally, northern Uganda, again, eastern Karamoja region, the community would hand over. And that's also clear. But then when you go to the central, then plus also part of eastern Uganda, when you go to western Uganda and southwestern Uganda, it is customary land. Customary land meaning that I get vested power through the one who has given me or I have inherited. Of course, ignore the Milo land and then freehold land. I will come to it later. But then, so when somebody gave us, because the church was not using land, especially like Bunyoro and Toro region, people would come and either an LOC1 or the head of Leyte or a local reverend would say, you settle there. Now, that's a terrible historical mistake, because you are telling somebody to settle on a church land that is not yours. So historically, that's a problem, that I allowed somebody to settle. And sometimes it is out of mercy. I mean, I'm merciful because this person has nowhere to sleep, so come and sleep. And then they stay. Then others, when they stay, they begin calling their relatives. This is mainly in Kasa and Mitiana, where now they call the relatives and they began staying. They stay. Now, because of course, problematic, especially at the lower level, where the church leadership is weak, you do not wait for those people to settle and then you come up later. So they become squatters, and it becomes a very serious challenge. So now that they are squatters, what do you do? And I'm suggesting this even to Ntawo Mukono. This is on the left as you go to Mukono. There is also a problem. So people are there now. They go to LOC, one letters, even LOC chairperson is sold. They sold, but the title is clear. So the dispute is not about ownership. It is even not about control. It is about access, what we call access. Who is using this land? So in my opinion, we need to now say, this is our title. We know you are there. Let's give you a what? A lease. Then use the land properly so that you can go to, and I don't think anybody can refuse a lease. So that you go to the bank, you can use it as collateral. You can also use it to develop properly. And then we are in harmony. But where you now refuse a lease, then you remain a squatter and pay usuru. But you should know that you do not own that land. And in fact, there are so many people who think that because the church is not shouting, then they own. No. And that's actually part of even my land. A landlord remains a landlord. And it doesn't matter what you do on top. You are still a squatter. Yes, you have rights, but those rights are not exclusive. And the best way is negotiate. If you want to settle, let's settle you. But you cannot continuously say that, look here, I own this land, because you don't. And so that's the challenge. But even because of the corrupt LC systems, corrupt in the sense that corruption is use of a public office for private gain. Because of those systems, people are facilitating others to come and occupy land. And by the way, this is not only the church, but forests are facing the same problem. Estates of government, whether sugar factory, same problem. Uganda Wildlife Authority, same problem. And so, when you have a big land, you can't continuously, keep checking it, especially if it is like 2 square miles, 5 square miles. The capacity to check every other day is tough. And there is where I went, in Bunyoro. People built a village in a night. Building a village overnight, so that they show that we have been here. And, the other day, they even created a graveyard. You put stones and a cross. But when you dig down
they don't
there,
exist. Nothing is.
You find just a banana fiber. Why? Because guys inherently want to occupy what is not theirs. And conscience is totally gone. And so when sometimes I find a person coming to office crying, okay, I sympathize a bit. But inside me I'm saying, behind these tears is there the truth. And that's why we shouldn't take, what they call prima facie, where you think there is a case because of the appearance. No. The Bible says, man is the heart, is desperate, the wicked. That's Jeremiah. So sometimes we just need to go beyond. Again, I have seen, it isn't an assumption, where people made tombs with crosses, but under there, nothing.
Banana fiber.
Yes. So that you now appeal. This is our graveyard. Jaja was here. But when you ask for especially graduated tax, maybe I'm indulging too much on what you can do to prove. Graduated tax will prove whether in 1970 you are there or not. Then secondly, what we call cohorts. Cohorts are people we went to in school. That Emmanuel went in 1982 to 89. So if you are saying that you shifted 1989, but yet your classmate is saying that you were in Kabade, then that can't be true. Then the third thing is what they call time series. That in this area, and by the way, if you use Google Map, you will see what was around 2005, an area which was occupied or not occupied. And you can't just go. Around 2006, you are saying you shifted 1990. But the Google map in 1990 is showing
the place was vacant.
That the place had trees. It had no house. So, you get it. But all that is because people are inherently wicked, and the whole LC system, I'm telling you the whole, it is hard to find somebody standing up. If you are standing up, God bless you, and I will pray for you, but there are very few who stand up for the truth. Why? Because you want a recommendation for your child, 3,000, and it is for a stamp. Why do you want it? So if somebody is shifting, hey, they have been here, and I have one LC in Kampala who actually testified that the land is not ours, but later he wrote that we had lost the title because he wanted to facilitate selling of that land. And that old man, about 60 something, when you look at him, you think, one, he's sensible, two, that he can't do what he's doing. But reality is, on one hand, you are writing that the church lost its title, So let's get a special title, which is the fake one. Then on the other hand, you are testifying that I don't know whether this is church land. And
And
you
he's
are
an
like
old
my
man
father,
who
yes,
seems to...
And you are saying it in front of many. And then when I read his statement, he's writing that this is church land, and the title got lost. So the fake people were getting the what? The title. Then on the other hand, when you want to cancel the special title, he's saying that he doesn't know whether this is church land or not. I even told him actually that you don't have to know. Because even if I stay in your place, it doesn't matter. You don't have to know whether you own a title or not. In other words, land is owned, not in spite of the LOC knowing it or not. But the reality is we have people who are fraudsters. They just want a simple benefit and sell their total soul. And I'm saying this, even reverends, I mean, there are those who sell. You are selling what is not yours. One of them even registered that land in the local church's name, registered trustees of Jasper Church of Uganda. That doesn't exist in law. But of course, because of land registry problems, you find that that land is registered. And then it is brought sold. When we come, people genuinely bought. I mean, genuinely. And so the only question is, how can I help you? Please buy properly. And we can transfer and give you a lease. And leases are clear. So that in the future, you and your children do not suffer. But you know, again, Ugandans, may I bow to, let's go to court. If you bow to air, court will only prove that you bow to air. And even if there is no proof, please come we engage one another rather than you claiming that you actually own.
So we are still looking at land usage in the Church of Uganda. How best can this land be used? But we want to start and pick it up from where we stopped before the break. How is this land sold by wrong people? I want to think that the Church of Uganda has trustees who are responsible for this land. Two, if any land is to be disposed of, then I want to think there should be core signatories whose signatures must appear. I don't know, is it the three, is it, who are responsible? Is it the bishops? Is it the diocesan council? Who are responsible for such transactions?
Yeah, so we have 4 dimensions that manages and administers church land. The first dimension is what they call the local church, either parish or sub-parish. A local parish will apply that somebody wants to use this land, either as a lease or simple as rent, and then they will apply to this diocesan land board. So each diocese, 37 now, we are adding one, that's west of Kabarole, west Rwenzori. So each of those 37 dioceses, they have what they call a diocesan estates stroke land board. So they consider all those applications and then say, this one we should give, this one we shouldn't. Then it goes to the diocesan council. Then the council sends to us, church commissioners, for now consent of 3 bishops. The first bishop is the one in whose the land is what is vested. That's the trustee where the land is, where the parish
the diocese.
Yes, for example, if it is in Zambia parish that wants to use its land, it will be the diocesan bishop of Kampala. And then, after that, the 2 trustees will also what? Consent after meeting. So we have what they call a provincial trustee standing committee for the land. Their work is to check all requests. But let me say this, church land is not supposed to be sold. Let me repeat. It is held in a trust. A trustee can't sell. They can lease, they can rent, they can give ordinary permits for use, but you can't sell when you're a trustee. You know, trustee means I have trusted you. And God has entrusted us with land. He has entrusted us with resources. So as trustees, we can't sell.
So how has some of this land been sold?
So, two things. What happened in 2011 when we were building this church house, Glory to God, there was a resolution by trustees that let's sell part of the prime land so that we invest in building this church house. And that was okay. And to that extent, things began happening in terms of, and that was a periodical decision. In other words, you know, there is what they call procedure, and there is also what we call something that you do out of an extraordinary circumstance. I mean, you want to build, this building is worth billions, and you cannot manage unless if you do this. So that was agreed, and it was for a season, it ended. And all proceeds actually indeed came to church house. And that ended. So when church house is there, you can't sell. And therefore, you can only do what they call leasing. And leasing has two aspects. You can lease for just a short period of time, 5-10 years. You can lease for 49 years, or you can lease for 99 years. In my opinion, 99 years is too long. There could be Joseph, who never knew Pharaoh, who comes and says, 99 years. And they just begin grabbing. So the best leases are short-term leases, and also 49 if you go beyond. But also, the 49 years now follows also the same process. The parish applies, then after applying, the diocese handles, then forwards to the province for consent of 3. So in terms of church, therefore, management and administration, we have 4 dimensions, and I mentioned them last time. Number 1 is what we call ownership. If you are there, please write. All Church of Uganda land is vested into the registered trustees of the Church of Uganda. You'll find on some titles what they call the Native Anglican Church. The title deed actually now gave that land into the registered trust. I mean, it is assumed that land is the registered trustees of the Church of Uganda. Same thing with Upper Nile diocese. Then second, so ownership, the registered trustees of the Church of Uganda. We have 37 trustees. The Archbishop is the chairperson of the trustees. Then below there, we have what they call control. The control is by the diocese. That where that land is, the trustee, who is the bishop, controls, together with the diocesan team, controls land there. So you can't build a church, you can't actually use land without authority from the diocese. They are the controllers. Then in terms of management, management means the daily work. We can't be everywhere. The parish priest, together with the head of late, I think we're head of late somewhere, are supposed to ensure that management of that land daily is being done in accordance with the land policy of the province of the Church of Uganda. And we have that land policy, 2010. And let me say this, the biggest problem is at that level. Where a manager thinks they are controllers, or where a manager thinks they are owners. No. Still, ownership is the registered trustees. You are managing on behalf of the bishop. And so you can't sell or rent or do what without authority that is in the due process within the dispensation of our church policy. And then later, we have what they call access. So ownership, registered trustees, control, the diocese. Number 3, management is by the parish council with the parish priest. Then access is by the one who is using that land. And in the policy, you can't purchase our land and build another church. No. You can't lease our land for another church. No, we are in the same business. So please go and lease elsewhere. You can't also lease our land and begin selling alcohol This is where I visited, and there are busy trucks of, I won't mention which brewery, they were coming, a depot. This is church land. No, you must use that land in accordance with the principles of the Church of Uganda. You can't put a discotheque that you have leased. No, you are leasing. You know, also it is difficult. It is actually my children that I told once. They were thinking that we turn our banana plantation into a playground. That they want to play football. So that banana plantation, let it go. I reminded them there is a difference between somebody renting and somebody owning. So the last word comes from the owner. You can't lease and begin thinking you are an owner. No, you must do things in accordance with the lease agreement. And currently what we are doing is to ensure that lease agreements have those clear terms. That you can't do this, you can't do this, you can 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't make a prison in the Church of Uganda land. You get it? Especially these prisons which are not what? Regulated. We want proper use. So that somebody will not be on top of our church and they are cursing. You get it? So that's what we now do. And currently, how we are doing that is to put procedures in place so that our children 5 years later will begin saying, I think this procedure is clear. Whoever wants to use this land will use it this way. And so we are making a registry, both an e-registry and a physical one at the province. Physical one, what does it do? That we shall have all photocopies of titles throughout Uganda in one area.
Photocopies?
Yes.
Who then has the originals?
The original are with a certain lawyer, whom I won't mention here.
They can go for him.
They can go for their chambers and ban them, especially the fraudsters. But they are clearly somewhere, and that's the lawyer who handles all church procedures and what they help us. And so we want to make that like a backup, hard copies, but also soft copies, so that when I'm on my laptop or phone, I can tap and know in Kumi, this is land is ours, and then the encumbrance is this, they have no title, you get it. So that overall, we can be able to know that overall, yes, this is good land, this is encumbered, and we call it mapping. And so if it is encumbered, what can we do in order to repair? And by the way, on 13th floor, in the near future, that will be our registry. 13th floor of this church house. Then on the room church house, our registry will be behind here. And I will be hosting some of you to come and see the miracles we are doing in the Church of Uganda. Yes.
So this land, when mapped, I don't know if you've done a bit of research what the different regions can do with this land. Talk about agriculture, talk about whatever.
Yes.
Because there are things that can easily do well in the west and they can't do well in the east. And yet all these places have Church of Uganda land. There are pastors, there are priests there who need to use this land. I don't know if you've made some guidance on how.
Yes, we are making guidelines on what we can do. But overall, the following is going to happen. Number one, each region will have what we call an industrial hub. An industrial hub means that within these 20 acres, when you go, you will find us manufacturing soap, manufacturing oil, manufacturing toilet paper, these rolls. Now I'm saying this so that you don't copy me, please, if you are listening. But if you copy, then you send the copyrights. So we shall have industrial hubs. In the regions, regions will have industrial hubs. Secondly, Church of Uganda has a history of Church of Uganda schools. In fact, religious founded schools are more than public. That one I know, because I have done research in that. Then we also have health centers. In terms of, again, regions, we want to segment that each region will have a very serious secondary school. Very serious. Okay. There are those which are serious, but not very serious. We shall have each region having a church-founded serious secondary school, so that the pressure for these schools in the central will cease. But then secondly, our children who are not able, and this of course pains me, to access or even have capacity to go for these schools, have a chance like me to study in a church school, but have an opportunity to pass and have a future. So each region will also have, and of course we have, I'm talking about the original 9 regions. Ignore the dichotomy today, but we will have Bugisi region, Karamoja region, then Northern region, West Nile region. So in terms of the 9 traditional regions, then also hospitals, deliberately. Of course, we are still in the process of making policies which will have, that each region will have more of a referral hospital, where you have, and by the way, we have so many hospitals. In next time I will come with the numbers. There are also so many health center 2s, health center 3s, health center 4s. We have like Mukono. There's a health center.
I know of one in
so,
Mukono.
but we now want also regions to have referrals, so that again the whole public is able to access church, because church has 2 dimensions. That yes, we are preaching the gospel, but we must also deliberately give social action. We are none for profit. I'm in a company, yes, to sustain the church, but the purpose is the Great Commission. That when I get money, I'm able to help somebody who is not able to access health, access education, access agriculture and safe water, that a church is able to give that, and to everybody, because the kingdom of God is actually for everybody. Then, so in terms of segmentation, what is uniform is industrialization, plus also schools and health centers. Now to agriculture. There are certain crops which will do well in Karamoja region, and then northern part of Uganda, then western, southwestern, and then central. So through the church household directorate, we are now mapping Uganda on where technically we can have specialization. So for example, now as I talk, South Ankole, each church has 5 acres of coffee. Then they have matoke. They are planting today. At least I was there last week, what they call House of Avocado. That is happening in South Ankole. It is happening in Kigezi. It is happening in Masindi and East Rwenzori. So that eventually House of Avocado becomes a serious crop. And instead of simply exporting it and selling, then you make an industrial hub to process that House of Avocado, to add value. Coffee, same thing, you are adding value. Ankole Diocese is doing the same. That you are promoting coffee, but you want also a coffee factory.
Here locally.
So that you put a cross on that coffee. So when I'm drinking it,
you are sure it is holy coffee.
I'm not. and the price is slightly less, so that we are different from those who sell the gospel. But anyway, the purpose is so that we are adding value to that primary person. Primary person means that woman who has gone and dug coffee, and instead of having these mafias, middlemen, I'm an agriculturist. My wife at least grows kasori. My friend, you grow kasori, and the middleman is getting about 10 times
more than you, the farmer.
And eventually, you find that people who are farming are inherently in debt. Why? Because they don't get value for money. So as a church, you become like somebody linking the chains. You are linking that farmer to proper, the tradesmen who will add value, but also you are helping that farmer to become a better Christian. Okay, you have money, you can even use land properly, and you are now giving tithe and offertories that is proper. And eventually, actually, you have an economic development model that can be replicated by government. And by the way, previously again, church could be a lead in education, government would simply follow. We would be a lead in health, government would follow. But somehow, there was what we call a mixed breed, where we began depending on government. And so we have government-aided secondary schools, about 15% contribution, but then control is by government. Yeah, but when you are controlling your school 100%, then all policies will what? Will be done by you.
By you and the way you want them.
You can actually evangelize through that. That some of us again went to an education system which wasn't expensive. If it was today, I wouldn't be here. So, but how can a certain Jasper, a certain charity, a certain peace from the village be able to come out through a system that is facilitated by church-founded institutions? And I can actually proudly say most of our ministers ignore the absurdity that is happening today. Most of them passed through church-founded institutions. And for me, that's a tragedy. That church-founded institutions modeled you to become what you are, and when you reach, you are messing them up. You begin taking up even things for the vulnerable. And I sometimes ask, if they took away that book, that pen, those iron sheets, when you were studying, would you study? And that's the tragedy of Uganda. And actually, it's annoying that they are taking what belongs to Karamoja. Exactly. To the vulnerable. Most vulnerable people. Instead of supporting those who passed through systems. Again, with all due respect, me, I passed through a system which cannot bring out a Jasper today. I mean, I got in 12 aggregates, primary 7. It was Church of Uganda founded the school. I go to Girls College in Butobere, 16 aggregates, among the best candidates. I was the best candidate in physics paper 2 in 1987. And I'm from the village. Shoes, nothing, you get it. Shorts have eyes behind. They have potholes. I normally call them potholes. Hey. But I had an opportunity to compete with Gayaza, with Buddha and Ksubi while I was there. Then I go to Caltech Academy. I went to Makerere, Bachelor of Statistics. I can tell you, I had 3 browsers. Okay. I didn't know they are browsers. I mean, you go to Manjari and purchase. So I had 3 browsers. I finished campus with the 3 browsers and 2 trousers. But I got second class upper statistics, and that was an opportunity. Now, it is a tragedy when I reach and I'm the one ruining the same opportunity for others. And that's why they call corruption. Instead of making it private again, and you are totally denying the right of that vulnerable person who would be like you. And that's what they call judgment. And by the way, and let me say this because I'm a priest, by the way, be careful, be careful, be careful. You may think that God is quiet, but he is not. And there will be payback period. And it is coming. And it will not be a nice one. And it won't be a nice one. Accountability period, it is not as easy as people want us to think. And so what we are saying is that God created opportunities through churches and religious institutions for us. Let's also allow those opportunities for others who are coming after us. And for me, that's my passion, that church land will be used properly so that some child in Tororo on the street can be able to say that I studied because I went through Tororo Girls, reached the Uganda Christian University, got a degree because the church is helping. Otherwise, we would be irrelevant. And that is what the church should be doing. Okay, let's get to the last bit of our discussion. What is the responsibility of the local person down at the parish level? Yes. These other Christians who are not at the parish council, who are not at the diocesan council, who don't come to the province. What is their responsibility towards securing this land? Yes, 3 things. Number 1 is you are our eyes. Meaning, if you see, because you see again in Uganda, we think we are not eyes of government. If somebody threw a stone to a public school, they say, Binobia government, you get it. But who is government? So please become the eye of the church. Don't allow somebody to begin accessing church land and using it without the due process. That's number one. Be the eye. And by the way, that's what you account for. God will not ask you many things about what others never did. No, He will ask you, you saw, what did you do? Secondly, report. And I thank God that there are so many people actually reporting. Normally when I'm in office, I receive 1 or 2 calls, others come physically to report that church land is going 1, 2, 3 way. Even cases which now we are handling, where because people reported. So first of all, be our eyes. Number 2, secondly, report that something is happening in this land. I may not know the detail, but what is the truth? So that after reporting, we are able to do what? To intervene. But the challenge again today is that people will just say, okay, let me wait, and I will see. No, you will see indeed, and you are already seeing. You know, when you read the book of Matthew chapter 27, the Bible says, passers-by wagged at Jesus. They never minded their business, but they did what? Wagged and passed by. Passed by. In other words, it was no, they never took any responsibility. So please report. Be our eye, report. And number 3, engage. Engagement has also 2 dimensions. Engage the local parish priest, ask questions to council. What is happening? How come that we can't title land? And then after engagement, if you find a fraudster, engage them also. The other day I was telling people that the time for church to sit when you are stealing their land is over. Okay, I want to see it. If you want physical fights, we shall physically fight. Let me repeat. I will engage you physically. Okay. Even with the collar, I can fight. At least I train in taekwondo. Yeah. But I'm trying to tell parishioners, don't sit while land is going. So, engage them physically, emotionally. Emotionally means we can put counseling centers instead of stealing. Ask God to help you get your land. Then also, engage in terms of legally. If we can go to court, let's go. If we can go to LOCs, let's go. Customary land, you go to LOCs. Especially if the value is less than 50 million. Let's engage so that the due process of the law is done. And then finally, as a parishioner, please pray. Please pray for us. But also pray for yourself. Even pray for that fraudster, for God to make him busy somewhere else. And give them so that they begin working and survive elsewhere. So please be our eye. Secondly, report. Number 3, engage. And don't stop engaging. Because if you don't, let me tell you, your children will begin judging you.
We have about 2 minutes to be out of here. How about you use the 1 minute to give your last word for today to our people concerning land in the Church of Uganda?
Clearly, if you don't use something, somebody will use it. And for me, again, that's the tragedy of our land system in Uganda, that we have church, but is not deliberately using the land that is there. If I left money here on top of the desk, people will help it. Not because they are thieves, but because money is not supposed to be where it is. So, if you are listening to me and you are part of the Church of Uganda, please use that land. Use it properly. If you want to rent properly. If you want to lease properly. Use it so that in the future, we keep this land for our children. Again, land as a resource will not increase, but we can acquire more. And by the way, we are acquiring. And under my jurisdiction, I want us to acquire more land, buy more land so that we add on our land portfolio, so that in the future, people will say, when this person was here, when this parish priest was here, we acquired these 3 acres of land for church, and we are using it for 1, 2, 3. And your name will be written. But there is a parish priest, you look for what they did, nothing. There is head of late, you serve 10 years. Then when they say, what did you do? You begin saying,
I was there.
You know, we removed the other reverend. That's the only achievement. And let me tell you, do something that will help you live beyond your name. And may God bless you as you stand up to use the land that God has given us and harness it for His glory.
Thank you so much for coming through. It is always a pleasure having you at Church of Uganda Family TV.
Thank you too.
That is Reverend Jasper, the man who finished Makerere with 2 blouses. 2 or 3?
3.
3 blouses.
Don't
and
reduce them.
3 blouses, and he has is one of the sharp guys we have in the Church of Uganda, and he's holding the highest, one of the highest offices, by the way, from a Church of Uganda school, church-founded school, and he's having one of the highest offices in the Anglican Church, looking all after all the Church of Uganda land in the entire province of the Church of Uganda. So when you hear him talk like that, he knows the history and how far the Lord has brought him. Thank you so much for keeping it here. Till we catch up again next Tuesday, my name remains Emmanuel Odeke, and I am one of the hosts here, but for today, I'm particularly the host of Let's Talk. Till we catch up again next Tuesday. God bless you. God bless Uganda. From I and the team, it's a good night. Till we meet again.